From Guildford comes a strange but well-attested piece of news that a poor woman who lives near Godalming, near that town, was about a month past delivered by Mr. John Howard, an eminent surgeon and man midwife, of a creature resembling a rabbit, but whose heart and lungs grew without its belly, about 14 days since she was delivered by the same person of a perfect rabbit, and in a few days after of 4 more, and on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the 4th, 5th and 6th instance, of 1 in each day, in all 9. They died all in bringing into the world. The women have made oath that 2 months ago, being working in a field with other women, they put up a rabbit who was running from them. They pursued it, but to no purpose. This created in her such a longing to it that she, being with child, was taken ill and miscarried, and from that time she had not been able to avoid thinking of rabbits. People, after all, differ much in their opinion on this matter, some looking upon them as great curiosities fit to be presented to the Royal Society, etc. Others are angry at the account and say that if it be a fact, a veil should be drawn over it as an imperfection in human nature. Hello, so in today's video we are going to be looking at the story of Mary Toft, the woman who gave birth to rabbits. 24-year-old Mary Toft already had 3 young children with her husband Joshua when she fell pregnant again in 1726. Living in the market town of Godalming, Surrey, they were not a well-off family. Joshua was a journeyman clothier by trade, so when Mary found out that she was with child, she carried on working in the fields so as to earn some money. In August that same year, Mary complained of pains and then ingested several pieces of flesh, one of which she described as big as my arm. A month later, Mary went into labour. One of Mary's neighbours, Mary Gill, was called over to assist with the birth. She was shocked to see Mary give birth to several animal parts. The neighbour showed these animal parts to Mary's mother-in-law, Anne Toft, who just so happened to be a midwife. Anne was intrigued and sent the animal parts to John Howard, a male midwife from Guildford, Surrey. At first, John Howard was sceptical as to whether or not Mary had actually given birth to these animal parts, but curiosity got the better of him, so he went to see her. When John arrived at Mary's home, Anne Toft showed him some of the rabbit parts that Mary had given birth to the night before. John examined Mary but did not find anything, so he left but returned later after Mary gave birth to yet more rabbit parts. Over the next few days, John Howard delivered of Mary 3 legs of a cat of a tabby colour and 1 leg of a rabbit. The guts were as a cat's, and in them were 3 pieces of the backbone of an eel. The cat's feet supposed were formed in her imagination from a cat she was fond of that slept on the bed at night. The strange story of the woman who was giving birth to rabbits started to spread around the country, even reaching the royal court of King George I. A member of the court, Henry Davenant, was curious as to what was going on in Surrey, so he went there to see for himself, and after examining the evidence, returned to London a believer in this strange phenomenon. John Howard, meanwhile, had moved Mary to Guildford so that he could better monitor her. There he offered to deliver Mary's rabbits in front of anyone who doubted her story. He kept in contact with Henry Davenant after he had returned to London, informing him of Mary's progress. Some of these letters that John Howard wrote to Henry came to the attention of Nathaniel St Andre, surgeon to the royal household. He wrote a pamphlet in 1726 called A Short Narrative of an Extraordinary Delivery of Rabbits, in which he included one of these letters. Sir, since I wrote to you, I have taken or delivered the poor woman of 3 more rabbits, all 3 half-grown, one of them a dun rabbit. The last leaped 23 hours in the uterus before it died. As soon as the 11th rabbit was taken away, up leapt the 12th rabbit, which is now leaping. If you have any curious persons that is pleased to come post, may see another leap in her uterus, and shall take it from her if he pleases, which will be a great satisfaction to the curious. If she had been with child, she has but 10 more days to go, so I do not know how many rabbits may be behind. I have brought the woman to Guildford for better convenience. I am, sir, your humble servant, John Howard. The royal family then became really invested in Mary Toft's story. St Andre and Samuel Molyneux, who was secretary to the Prince of Wales, were sent to Guildford to investigate further, and they were not disappointed. As soon as the pair arrived in Guildford, they were taken to Mary's bedside, and within a couple of hours witnessed Mary deliver a rabbit's torso. St Andre then decided to investigate this rabbit torso. He wanted to see if the rabbit had breathed air, so he placed a piece of the rabbit's lung in water to see if it would float, which it did. He then examined Mary and concluded that the rabbits had indeed been bred in her fallopian tubes. The men then left Mary, during which she gave birth to another rabbit torso. They returned in the evening to find Mary having contractions, and St Andre was able to deliver what looked like some body parts of a cat and a rabbit's head. Another surgeon from the royal court was sent to Guildford. He was Cyriacus Allers, and he was a lot more sceptical than the others. When he arrived in Guildford, he found Mary showing no signs of pregnancy and observed that she seemed to press her knees and thighs together as if to stop something from dropping out. He was also suspicious of John Howard, who would not let him help deliver the rabbits. Alice firmly believed that this was all a hoax, but pretended to believe it to be true so that he could take some of the rabbit pieces back to London with him. Back in London, Alice examined the rabbit and found that they had been cut with a man-made instrument. Alice took his finding to the king and also showed them to several persons of note and distinction. John Howard began to get worried by Alice's suspicion. St Andre did too, so he started to go around collecting statements of witness that put Alice's honesty into doubt. Mary Toft, meanwhile, continued giving birth to rabbits. It was decided by the king that Mary should be brought to London so that further investigations could be carried out. Alice was sent to fetch her from Guildford, along with Richard Manningham, an obstetrician who had been knighted in 1721. They brought Mary back to London, and she was lodged in Lacey's Bagnio in Leicester Fields. Mary's amazing story began to appear in the new publications of the day, newspapers. It became a national sensation, although there were some publications that were sceptical. With the spread of the unlikely that it is actually true story, many physicians wanted to see Mary for themselves. One of the physicians that studied Mary was Scottish physician John Mowbray. John was a proponent of maternal impression. Maternal impression is the belief that conception and pregnancy can be influenced by what the mother saw or dreamt during pregnancy. So, if an expectant mother saw a rabbit while pregnant, their child could be born resembling that rabbit. John also proposed in his work, The Female Physician, that women could give birth to a creature that he named a pseudokin. John Mowbray was completely happy to meet Mary, as her condition backed up all his theories. But there was another person who thought that the whole thing was idiotic. He was James Douglas, a man midwife and one of the country's most respected anatomists. He thought that a woman giving birth to rabbits was as likely as a rabbit giving birth to human babies. James did go and see Mary, but after examining her, he refused to engage with St Andre. Mary carried on going into labour, but no more rabbits were born. The truth of the whole situation was soon to be uncovered. Thomas Onslow, 2nd Baron Onslow, had started his own investigation into the whole thing, and he found out that Mary's husband Joshua had for the past month been buying young rabbits. The same day, a porter at the Bagnio where Mary was staying confessed to the Justice of the Peace, Sir Thomas Clarges, that he had been paid by Mary's sister-in-law Margaret to smuggle rabbits into Mary's room. Mary and Margaret were both arrested and questioned. Mary denied everything, while Margaret said that she had gotten rabbits for eating only. Richard Manningham and James Douglas both questioned Mary, but it wasn't until Richard had threatened to perform a painful operation on Mary that she confessed the truth. Mary said that following her miscarriage, while her cervix was still open, an accomplice had inserted into her womb the claws and body of a cat and the head of a rabbit. She had then given birth to these body parts. Mary said that they invented a story which said that during her pregnancy, Mary had been startled by a rabbit while working in a field. This had made her become obsessed with rabbits. She had started craving rabbit meat, which, because of maternal impressions, had caused Mary's baby to turn into a rabbit. Mary said that for later births, animal parts had been inserted into her vagina. She said that a travelling woman told her how to insert the rabbits into herself, and that this woman also told her that this scheme would mean that she would never want again. Mary blamed the whole thing on many people, including her mother-in-law and John Howard. Mary appeared in court in January 1727, charged with being an abominable cheat and impostor in pretending to be delivered of several monstrous births. John Howard also appeared in court. He was fined £800 and Mary spent a short time in prison. She was released in April 1727 and returned to Godalming, where in 1728 she gave birth to a daughter, a human daughter. It was noted in the parish registrar that this was her first child after her pretended rabbit breeding. Mary disappears from the record for a bit after this, until 1740, when she was imprisoned for receiving stolen goods. She died in 1763 and her obituary featured in the London newspapers alongside those of the aristocracy. Her family never profited from the hoax. So although Mary and her family didn't profit financially from the whole situation, they may have gone into the hoax thinking that maybe they could. They could have thought that they could have exhibited Mary as a curiosity that people would pay money to come and view. But was Mary a willing participant in all of this? She might have been, she might have not. Remember that Mary had just miscarried, so at the time she would have been feeling really upset and would have also been in a really vulnerable position, which people like her mother-in-law and John Howard could have taken advantage of. So the medical profession did not get off lightly at all. They came in for a right ribbon, especially from the writer and printmakers of the day like William Hogarth. So embarrassingly, St Andre had actually published his pamphlet in December of 1726, just saying how Mary giving birth to rabbits is completely true and it is this amazing, wonderful thing. And after the hoax was revealed, he published an advert in a newspaper trying to vindicate himself. And I read somewhere that apparently he never ate rabbit ever again. So Richard Manningham and James Douglas, even though they didn't believe in the whole thing at all and they thought it was all stupid, they also published their accounts just to reiterate, we thought this was completely stupid. But also several doctors who are in no way connected in any way possible to Mary's case also published pamphlets and papers and put things in newspapers saying that they didn't believe that it was true too, just to try and distance themselves from the whole thing. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.